Welcome to episode 55 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River.
You all missed the part where I almost forgot the weekly rundown.
Crimson Warlock.
Take two. Let's do it right this time.
Jez.
Good morning again.
And Agrios.
And greetings, Guardians.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
And real quick, am I coming in all right? Because I'm getting a little bit of static on my end.
Sound pretty good to me.
Okay, good. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening on the podcast, however it is that you choose to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1Net. That's G, the number 1, N-E-T. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. You can also send us feedback to our email, feedback at guardian1.net. We also have the Bungie.net's forums group that's currently at 203 members. We utilize the forums for comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all of you that are currently in the Twitch chat. I love you. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And if you can't catch the show live, you can always search for Guardian 1 on iTunes, as well as the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. We do encourage you guys to send us feedback on both of them. iTunes reviews are pretty sought after, as well as comments on the YouTube channel, so be sure to leave those for us. We love to hear from you. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts that's part of the network, including the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardians of D. Other podcasts include Aim Assist Gaming, TTL Party Chat, Robust Radio, and if you want to read the Grimoire without actually reading it, you can check out Ghost and Echoes. And I know some of these podcasts aren't actually active anymore, like TTL and Robust, really, but you can actually still find those if you ever want to listen to those again. That's it.
You know what's interesting also is looking back and seeing where we were at the time. You know, I even find when I go back to check what I've said in past podcasts, I laugh thinking, oh, you know, it's so funny that that's what we thought was going to happen when it was totally this, you know. So it's I don't know, very interesting to listen to. But I don't know, how do you have 2 hours chunks of audio just stacked and stacked and stacked? Like, I feel like, where would you even begin? I mean, obviously the beginning, but
Episode 1.
I think it'd be more interesting to see yourself at like a year ago, 6 months ago, talking about a year ago you, and look at both of them to see, like, oh, I thoroughly lambasted myself in 6 months ago, saying,
right.
Oh, I was so wrong. All this stuff's not in it. It's not that great of like the content is a little bit sparse. And then we come like to now, and it seems like things are finally getting back on track to how we were thinking it was going to be.
yeah,
I mean, there's swords.
yeah, absolutely, there is swords. That's very exciting. I can't wait to have swords. And I heard this far off scream. I felt it through the force. I was like, something is in great pain right now, and I realized that it was my vault. It was my future vault just stuffed with swords. You know, I'm going to want to collect all of them. All of the ones they've shown so far are so cool. They're so cool. There's one that looks way similar to like Cloud's Buster sword.
Well, remember they're exotic, so you are collecting them.
Well, there it is. I
Fair
am
enough.
collecting them. They're all exotic, or just
I think the only ones that I know of, not the Arc Edge.
No,
But
they're not
the-
exotic, but they all require a quest to get. They all are not random drops.
I thought somewhere that the Void one was another exotic. That
I
he
just
was
know
using.
Ray's lighter is.
Yeah, I know Race Lighter is too, but they never went over the other one. I don't know
Remy?
where I was thinking that one was exotic.
yeah. What's
Are
up?
you,
Chris?
are you sure that scream wasn't Bife having an orgasm?
Yeah, maybe.
It's probably me.
Maybe I
I
think
don't know.
he's
I
sleeping
think that
right
was the
now.
whole that was the whole the whole Destiny community having an
I think so.
orgasm all at once.
Mhm.
Seriously though, it's just I don't know. It's just going to be such a cool addition. Watching people walk around with a sword on their back, I've wanted it. You know, I've actually seen a bunch of people on Twitter also saying like, "Well, am I the only one who doesn't care about swords? This is a space marine game, you know?" Right, River?
No, that's part of my power fantasy, man. I'm not even going to use rocket launchers or fusion rifles or like the machine. I'm not going to use any of that. It's sword from here on out.
Don't Warhammer 30K Space Marines have a giant like chainsaw blade?
Whap, whap.
Yes.
I don't know if they had them in 30K, but in 40K they definitely did. But yeah, like the future of Destiny is super bright, and I'm very happy to have this as my hobby. Flounder pointed out earlier today that I just everything I do that isn't raising some kids is talking about Destiny and consuming people talking about Destiny. You know, it's just it takes up my every moment. And what's crazy about it is that I can already chart out an entire 40-hour work week of more shit I want to do for Destiny and for Guardian 1 and for myself as just a gamer, just right off the top. I already spend a large amount of my time on it. If I could just add another 40 hours to my week where I could just go off and do these things, I would do it. I would create so much content, so many videos I want to make, revive my dear Bungie, which is somehow sitting at like 400 members. And this is really funny because, you know, I'll check it every couple of months and it will drop down below 400. It will go back above 400, but it roughly stays right around 400. 400 people out there are like, all right, well, if he ever makes another video, I will watch it. You know, like they don't scroll by and think, well, screw that guy. He hasn't made a video in 2 years. But so much to do and so much to see. And this week has been such a huge week for me in Destiny. I've tried to not look at it the last couple of weeks. I want TTK to come out so badly. I'm so ready for this whole new side of what the game is going to be. But then all of a sudden, I got to get these triumphs done. I want that emblem. I need that emblem. And this week, I finished my last triumphs on Xbox and now have them on both systems. And I'll tell you what, I am feeling like a badass right now, having
Nice.
triumphs done on both systems.
Congratulations.
You know what's crazy about it, though, is that it's so easy to do if you know the right people or are able to find the right people. Destiny really, truly is about seeking connection with others and doing something together. You know, I have seen the video of the guy beating Skolas solo, and I want to try it, but I never, ever would have tried it if I hadn't seen it done first. I would just have assumed that it was impossible, and it did look like there was a fair bit of luck involved with it. But to be perfectly honest, it's Destiny is about seeking out, you know, people and getting their help and helping them back, and it's scary. It's scary, and I can understand why people didn't make it past 20 if they don't have the proper support or the proper, you know, like they just aren't on Twitter. You know, they don't know the people out there who are actively seeking people to help. like one of the guys in our group, Strider. He takes newbies through the Vault of Glass. People have never done it before, and he takes them through. He helps them through. That's exciting. That is game changing in the game and game changing in the real world. Like once you realize that somebody out there is willing to help you, the game takes on this whole new. It really is a transformation, not unlike leveling to 20 and then going from 20 to 30 with armor. It's an entirely different aspect, and it's something that's it's you need to do it. You need to do it. I went out to an LFG this weekend to get some 32 Prison of Elders, and I hooked up with these two guys, and I had just purchased a scout rifle with shoot to loot on it, and I had deleted one, and I hated myself for doing it, and I went back. I bought that again, and I had that on when I joined their group. And before we went in to fight the guys, I had changed my weapon. But at some point, like we went in, and it was clear that these guys knew what they were doing, and we were going to just breeze through this. And that makes me feel good because I don't know these people. I don't know any of these people. Roger Glover, 25. Who is that? I have no idea. Are they hateful? Are they friendly? Are they going to make fart jokes the whole time? And so I started telling these guys that it was really cool that they were competent, because you don't ever know. And right around that and I went on for, 3 minutes about this, like how it's funny if you get into a group with two people who, end up shooting each other, and so at some point after this, he said, "Oh, good, you changed your primary." I was worried for a second, and I started laughing, and I said, "Man, you guys let me talk about having competency, and you watched me have this green scout rifle. I came into your party with this green scout rifle, and you let me go on about competency." Like, I just laughed and laughed because what an idiot I must have looked like. But luckily for me, I am Destiny competent, and we did make a killing of it, and I'm well on my way to having level 30, all 34s on my Xbox, and sometime tonight when I figure out whether or not I want to upgrade my stuff, I will be 34 there. River, was this week a big week for you in Destiny?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, not like last week because it was Iron Banner and I played the shit out of Iron Banner. But I mean, with the reveal, yeah, pretty much as expected. What swords? Yeah, swords. Man. Oh, and tomorrow. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
What about you, Crimson Warlock? Have you played more Destiny this last week in preparation for the Taken King? Are you stepping up your game and knocking out everything that you possibly can?
I need to start stepping it up. I was kind of waiting for this weekly update to come out to see what might change in these last 2 weeks, and I'm kind of glad that I did. But I am super stoked for what's coming up. I'm kind of excited, but kind of sad with some of the changes that are coming to House of Wolves content soon. But I'm pretty sure I've got all of the stuff I need to. But yeah, just super excited, and man, these next 2 weeks can't go by fast enough.
Man, and you know what? For everyone out there, we'll just make this announcement right now. You have an additional week to get your triumphs done, which I wouldn't be done with my triumphs right now if it hadn't been coming to an end this next Tuesday. Like, I really pushed because I thought, man, this is the last 2 weeks. Like, I spent, and then I actually finished it before this week started, and I don't know, it was a weight off my chest, and I almost am really glad that they told me a week prior, because I just got it done, and it feels good to have it done. But yeah, anyone out there who's thinking I can't make it, you can make it. You still got a whole nother week after this week is over. What about you, Jez? Have you been playing more Destiny, or have you been ready for the Taken King since about the 3rd week into House of Wolves?
Well, I would say that I was ready, or that I was doing a lot of stuff, like, especially like last week, because I'm going to be so OCD about my collection enough that just like the day before I was going to Seattle for PAX, I got the notification, hey, you're not going to be able to have your Iron Banner emblems in year 2 if you don't have it already. And I looked and I could not find it, so I ground out to rank 3 to get that second emblem on Wednesday night. Like 3 hours before I had to go to bed. No, like 3 hours before I had to go to the airport.
Which was also 3 hours before you were going to bed. You were double screwed there.
Oh, I didn't even sleep. And on top of that, I was like, I need to get some weeklies done because more coins is always good. So I took my Vita and I tried a weekly, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
Like trying to do just any type of content with a Vita, especially if you die and you don't have automatic respawns. But yeah, I'm so not ready, and yeah, I've been stepping it up because I need to get a whole bunch of stuff done.
So what is number one for you? Like right now, like if you were just going to go play Destiny right now, what would it be?
Probably, I don't know.
Just that much, or you just have been crossing stuff off faster than you know?
It's mostly like trying to get your factions to almost leveled and trying to get your just your materials. Like either your motes of light or coins or just things like that.
Got it. Sounds exciting.
Oh, and these next 2 weeks is all about collecting 5K bounties, which thankfully they said incomplete bounties will be removed, but not all bounties.
No, wait a minute here. Now, this is going to be something I was going to ask when we got to that part, but you bring it up now, so it's a good time to talk about it. It says incomplete bounties. The definition of incomplete could go 2 different ways. One could be incomplete as in you didn't finish filling up the green bar, as in you only have like 4 out of 5 of this type of kills or whatever. The other version, incomplete, is it's not turned in yet, because that's when it's completed, is when you turn it in.
It also says the incomplete exotic bounties will be auto-completed.
Correct, right.
Which, it'd be kind of weird if they just finish that bounty off, especially if it's like the Cypher bounty.
Isn't the Cypher bounty is exotic though, right?
Yeah, but you have a choice at the end of that.
Totally.
Which one to take.
But, like when they say auto-completed, that means it could be sitting in your inventory ready to turn in, because it says with the vendor, with the appropriate vendor. So I think that means it just fulfills the requirements.
Yeah, with the Cypher, I think you'd go up to Varix and he'd say, which one do you want?
Yeah, I think that's what they're talking about as well. So actually, Agrios, you bring up a really good point. I think you're right. I think any bounty not turned in is doomed.
Well, actually, I was just asking. I don't think that. I actually agree with Jez, as in that if you have all the requirements fulfilled on the bounty, and the bounty has flipped to the status saying it's ready to turn in, those will not be removed. Just ones that you haven't fulfilled your requirements yet for will. And I say this because what Jez brought up, the fact that it says the exotic ones will be completed. Well, that means they're going to be sitting in your inventory saying all the things are finished, ready to turn into the vendor, just like the bounties, regular bounties that you have already completed.
Interesting. So
it's really weird wording, and it could go either way. Either person could be right. I don't necessarily think there's a definitive answer, but using the context, like Jez said, I think I'm leaning toward Jez in this sort of opinion here.
Well, I guess we'll find out, won't we? What about you, Agrios? Have you been on more than not? And how are you even handling your inventory? Because I know that you have so many weapons that I want, and I have no space in my vault. What are you doing leading up to the Taken King?
Well, I've kind of You know that I research like the weapons heavily. Like as a hobby, I like to know what's on top for each particular, sort of scenario in each weapon category. I love to pour over the Planet Destiny item spreadsheets for the different weapons and put them in order by impact and order by stability and looking them all up and down one way and the other. So I've kind of had a snapshot of what I think are the best examples of guns in the game for a long time now. And aside from working toward maybe one or two variants that I haven't got yet, like I still haven't managed to pick up a Hopscotch Pilgrim, I haven't been looking to get any new weapons for a very long time. So my inventory, for the most part, has been in a very, very similar state since not long after House of Wolves dropped, to be frank.
Interesting.
And I have no room. I have exactly enough spaces open to still function. If I picked up a Hopscotch Pilgrim, I would have to decide on something else to delete.
What would it be?
I don't know. I'd have to decide. I'd have
to have been eyeballing something. I know that
there's a couple weapons I have two of that I have the two of for the purpose of I'm going to want to re-roll them into something better here shortly, based on what's going to happen with like this next patch and whatnot, pending I can even still re-roll them. But after that process is done, that extra one can be deleted. So if I had to delete one ahead of time, I just pick my least favorite of those guns that I have two of for re-rolling purposes and delete the extra one.
Got it. Yeah, I should really just start deleting stuff. And making room feels really good.
Honestly, the only things that you should think about keeping, obviously your exotics, but you don't need any legendaries unless you're going to use it and unless you want it for PvP.
I was just going to say mainly PvP purposes, because as far as we know, the Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner aren't going to be returning for, it seems like, quite a little bit after taking King drops. So all those new modes of Crucible and all that stuff, you're going to be playing with, the best, Crucible style gun you can get. So I think that's where most of what you have comes into play.
So what is your process for those listening at home or in their car or at work? When you are going to delete something, what is the process you use? Like, is there, like, let's say that you have a primary shortage of space and you have to break something down because you have a hopscotch coming in. What do you do? How do you seek out your information? Because it's tough. It's tough. And some of these I have an affection for because of the way they look, or the period of time in which I got them, or the fact that in the beginning of Destiny, legendary drops were so frickin' rare that we had to hold on to every single one unless it was absolute garbage. What do you do? Agrios?
What do I do?
Yeah, like what is your process? Like on this panel here, I'm assuming that you have to have had dismantled more than your fair share of stuff. Like, how do you go about researching your ways?
Well, I mean, everything has a role. I mean, I look at what I have done and have been doing, through all of first year Destiny. Like, I haven't, since I became of level to do it, I haven't, on purpose missed a Nightfall. I know I haven't missed completing a Nightfall on at least one character. I don't think there's many weeks that I haven't completed the Nightfall on all three characters. And just knowing what I use on a regular basis, what, is equipped on me most times, if possible, I help make that, I focus on that for priorities. Then after that, it just becomes a list of what roles needed filled with what urgency. Like, how often do I need to kill things with Solar, to be general about it? How often do I need to kill things with Arc? And then that helps prioritize it for me. Then after that, I simply try to have, a gun to fill all those roles. I try to have at least one gun of every class. Like, even though I don't use fusion rifles very much these days, I used them a lot when Destiny first came out, but I don't use them very much these days. I always take care to find and have at least one of the best fusion rifle I can figure out how to acquire at the moment. So once I get past those roles, then it falls into sentimental things. And I have my fair share of sentimental things, and I'm actually probably more likely to delete something
useful,
mildly useful, over something that, like, I started the game with and put like 1,100 hours in playing with, and whatever.
Man, I wish that there was a way to determine how much time you've spent with one weapon, because that would be a pretty fancy point of
Yeah, you
data.
can do weapon type, but the actual specific weapons, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way of determining that.
Yeah. All right, so I had a guy ask me this question not too long ago. Very curious to know
I think you skipped Crimson.
What did I skip Crimson?
You did.
Crimson Warlock. So it's been a long time coming. The Taken King. As soon as the House of Wolves came out, I thought, oh my God, Destiny 2 is never going to be here. And I tried my hardest to push for House of Wolves content, and then at some point I just burn out. And then all of a sudden, here we are on the eve, practically, of the Taken King. What are you doing to prepare for that?
I am playing Diablo 3. I am trying to distract myself so
Nice.
that I don't get too anxious for it. That's actually what I'm doing. I feel like I've got enough stuff done in House of Wolves. I'm gonna check my grimoire tomorrow to make sure I have all my hunts done. But if I do, then I'm kind of just trying to enjoy a different game until I get sucked into Destiny for another 3 months.
Interesting. I kind of feel like I was trying to do that too, but I feel like everything that I want to do is so close, and I can just get it done. You know, that's what happened with Thorn. Something snapped inside me. And it just said, just go get it, dude. You know, there's no reason to not put the time in. Oh, you know what it was? It was this combination, this crazy combination of Iron Banner, and I want to get I want to get all the exotics I can, and I'm sad to know now that the exotics are just going to auto finish, and I could have just waited on that. But I did earn my Thorn, both of them. I did earn both of my Thorns, and that feels really good.
About the only thing that would really suck me into Destiny until I got it done is if I happen to get the super good advice bounty. I've only had that option pop up once, and I chose the Pocket Infinity and over it, and so I've never had a chance to get super good advice. So that would be probably the one thing that would suck me into Destiny, just so I could get it done and say that I at least got all the vanilla exotics before year 2 started.
And it is like the easiest exotic bounty too. That is by far the easiest one to do.
And you know what they say, you can't win if you don't play.
That is true.
I think my super good advice is still sitting at like 200 something attack power.
Oh.
I don't think I even maxed it out.
It's got a little pacifier in the end.
I feel so bad about it, man.
It's got a very niche place to use it, but it is the best gun for what it does, which is to kill non-living things.
Take that, trash can.
Do you think that also counts? Because I heard that the Oracle, Oracle thing procced. Does that mean that would also work? Super good advice would also work on the mines in the barracks?
Yeah, it does. It basically it works whenever you're shooting something that it doesn't consider as a real enemy.
Interesting. So, do you think that this was
something that damages you? That's one way to figure that out.
Do you think this is the way it was supposed to be, or do you think this was a mistake?
I think it was an oversight, but it should be explored as a possible rebranding of the perk.
Got it.
And since we mentioned it, the same thing happens when you try to shoot the Oversoul.
Oh, awesome. Well, that would take those things out really quickly. That's definitely something to keep in mind for people going through Vault of Glass. I need my Mythoclast on both systems. I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw it down right now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to that LFG site, and I'm going to make it happen.
What are you making happen? A Crota run using only super good devices? What?
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. No, Mythoclast. I need my Mythoclast. All right, why don't we get to the nitty gritty of what's going on in the Destiny world right now? Because we have tons of stuff to talk about. We started 15 minutes late. I mean, that's not bad. 15 minutes late compared to last week's.
That was funny.
So yeah, let's do this. Yes, as randomly, I know Mythoclast is garbage. What? What?
It used to be so good. It's rough anymore.
Yeah. You know what? I just want it.
Me
Like
too.
you want that super good advice. You know, who uses super good advice?
Obviously not me.
Right?
It might make a comeback eventually. I'll
I
just
hope
say
so.
that.
Alrighty. So what do we got, Agrios?
Well, earlier this week, Bungie had a court appointment. Designer Ben Womack, community lead Irk, community manager Deej, and community guest Laced Up Lauren took to the court of Oryx in this week's Taking King reveal.
Can I just say that Deej was the worst bailiff ever? Mr. Fun Police. Jeez.
Like he has a job to keep, you know. Everyone's ass is on the line. Moving on. So the Court of Oryx allows players to instigate their own public events. This takes place in the Hall of Souls on the Dreadnought. A rune's required to summon bosses in the Court of Oryx. You'll after you complete one, you'll receive a temporary debuff for 40 seconds that prevents you from using another rune after that event was completed. This allows other players to start their own Court of Oryx battles. Court of Oryx has 3 different tiers. Tier 1 has a random boss that has a unique mechanic associated with them. Tier 2 has you fight 2 random bosses from Tier 1 at the same time, and enemies are bumped up to level 41. Tier 3 will supposedly have bosses that are similar to ones from raids. Some enemies exhibit a white overshield. Unlike normal elemental shields, special conditions must be met to lower these shields.
It's not the fabled kinetic shield.
Yes, there it is. The fabled kinetic shield stops all damage until, in cases we've heard mentioned by Edge Magazine earlier, and we saw them demonstrated. For instance, you bring 2 Hive Knights close enough together, and once you do, their shields drop. It has been discovered that if you are 40 or more light below your target, that target is immune to your damage. So even if you're a light level 40 and your target is level, if you're level 40 and your target's level 40, if you are more than 40 light below their light level, you'll do no damage whatsoever to them. It'll be similar to being too many regular levels below previously. I imagine you'll get the question marks.
Yeah, you don't want to get the question marks.
It was kind of interesting that when they died, it said, 240 light recommended next to the dude. In the kill screen.
Well, that way, if you get killed, you know why you got killed. What you should be working towards, so that you can take on that guy again. Yeah, so that's good. Especially with it being a brand new system like that, people who aren't maybe as involved as we are, I think could be disoriented when they come back into the game. Someone who doesn't follow all the news necessarily. So I think anything like that's going to be super helpful to the general populace.
I hear that.
In the Court of Oryx, the summoner, the one who casts the rune, will get the most rewards, although everyone will be rewarded from the chest at the end. The summoner must also be active in the arena, or the event will be canceled. Upon the death, a 20-second timer appears, during which the summoner must be revived or self-revive and make it back into the event bubble. Runes can be found by defeating Taken in random mini-events throughout the Dreadnought. Up to 9 Guardians can participate in a Court of Oryx event at one time. Each event does have a timer that you must kill the boss within. And rewards can include things such as stolen runes, which are then charged by defeating more bosses and redeemed to fight higher tier bosses. We also learned during the reveal that swords are not just random drops. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but they are in fact earned via quests. We saw a exotic sword called Raidslater.
They are forged.
Oh, excuse me.
So we saw an exotic sword called the Raise Lighter. Its base perk was called Solar Forged Guard. Use L2 to guard, and it's effective against arc and void attacks, less effective against solar attacks. So being that it was a solar sword, it appears that they're actually weak against the element that they are and stronger against the opposite elements. Much like a shield when you're shooting at a boss. If a boss has a solar shield, he's weak to solar, but stronger against the other two elements. The other perks on the sword include increased armor while wielding the sword, kills with the sword grant super energy, and increased sword ammo capacity. A special move included on the sword is Phoenix Uppercut. Use R2 to launch into a solar light uppercut. Now, this uppercut seemed quite powerful, able to take down one of the Court of Oryx bosses in just a few swings. The final perk on it increased the damage for the R2 attack. We saw other things in the Dreadnought, including new resources such as Worm Spore.
Gross.
What exactly? This is interesting, I think, because of the very, very little information we have in the lore. More of it comes from actually early concepts art and such than from what is actually in the lore. But from what we understand, that they're affected by some sort of parasitic light-devouring worms. So I find this worm spore, interesting.
Gross. You want me to pay you? You want me to pay you marks for this? No. I will take this off your hands.
So at the end of the event, they then showed 2 new trailers exclusive to the reveal stream at first. And the first one was a new trailer highlighting the Queen. And the last one was a trailer teasing the new raid. It was then revealed that the King's Fall raid will go live 9/18. That's a Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I believe 6 p.m. UK time.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Right. I guess that sounds right.
So let's talk about that. You guys excited? Raid?
Actually, I'm excited about that 9 Guardian Explorer because, correct me if I'm wrong, but patrols have generally been only up to 6 people, right? It's like 2 teams of 3, right?
Well, patrols are only... you can only take a fire team into a patrol.
Well, no, what I was thinking about was I don't know that I've ever seen more than 6 people in a space, but now that I'm thinking about it, when you go in with 6 people to the Vault of Glass, your 6 fire team members can then find other people who are coming or going.
I believe 9 is the total in a given instance on like a map. Like I believe they'll let 3 more into an instance. Like at the Vault of Glass entrance, you could see up to 3 extra guardians entering that, and that's the most you'll get, I believe.
I think it's going to be huge. Super excited about that. Running across other people coming to help me with this, calling out those the Court of Oryx gentlemen.
Since we're talking about it, do you think that they should have opened up the Dreadnought to for the first time ever 6-man patrols? I mean, using the where to launch for the Vault of Glass on Venus, you can go on a 6-man patrol at Venus, although you can't actually pick up the patrol missions because you're in the raid instance. Do you think that maybe they should have opened up the Dreadnought to 6-man teams?
I think it's crazy. I think the whole thing is crazy because the reason they said they chose 3 people for a fire team instead of 4 people was that 4 people actually was too much. Having a 4th person, they described it with as Clown Town. Like, this is what ended up happening with 4 people in the mission, so they made it 3. And that's why raids are a different situation because you're going to want those extra people. They've made this extra hard. So having 6 people go to patrol just seems like overkill. Like if you do end up ditching out on going into the Vault of Glass and going into one of those other areas, you absolutely own those other areas. I mean, you do.
But what about this? I mean, you go into patrol on Earth or whatnot with your fire team of 3 people. How many zones do you go into that already have, 3 people in them? I mean, you still have 6 Guardians fighting the enemies in that area then. Just 3 of them aren't your friends by no choice of your own.
Yeah, but it's you're less coordinated. But I think that this might be part of that raid thing. If you go to the Dreadnought seeking out this raid, you're going to have to go as a 6-man team, right? It's still going to be 6-person playing this, right? So you will still be. Will you be able to go to the Court of Oryx and help those people out? Could you, in theory? What's that?
I would say I doubt it. I bet you it's going to be like the Dark Below raid where they start you in a unique space that doesn't access the rest of patrol.
Oh yeah, they did get rid of that, didn't they? I forgot
Right.
about that. I way forgot about that. You're right. I was always sad too that you couldn't see Guardians coming or going. Anyways, yeah, I don't think that a 6-person patrol is. I mean, if you were to tell me that there is a certain part of the world where you waded into combat that was very similar to when you went to Skywatch, and here comes Urzok the Hated, and here's a public event, and here is the House of Wolves guy dropping from the
Awesome.
I've been in that, and it feels crazy. Like nowhere is safe. You have to keep moving. Every target is a huge target, and if you told me that there was places like that, I would be like 6-man fire team patrol. Let's go exterminate. Maybe that's what it would be called, is extermination, because it's you or them. Because that was one of the most exciting times for me. I just couldn't believe that all of those things, and it was that one where it was the war sat right outside of where Urzok shows up, and then right around the corner from where the House of Wolves guys shows up. So it was nuts. River, you've been part of that particular situation?
Yeah, man. Whenever House of Wolves first came out and I was doing the urn, that first time, that exact same situation happened, and it was incredible. I absolutely loved it because of how chaotic it was, and everywhere I looked, it was something to shoot, and I felt like I was running out of bullets. But it was amazing, but I really think that maybe Court of Oryx might look into doing something similar to that, especially whenever you get to the higher tiers.
You know what? I think that would be something really cool for G1 to do. Roll up as a 6-person team into that area, and when somebody triggers that, just helping them mop up, seriously, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
No, randomly was talking about how Court of Oryx might be prone to trolls rolling in and trying to mess up your court.
Yeah, I could see that.
Me too.
Like I've mentioned before, people have just come up and taken those Scorch cannons and run off with them. You can still do it without the Scorch cannons, but talk about making life easy for yourself. Yeah, that would be horrible. Those people are rotten.
I mean, aside from, I guess, for instance, the one we talked about, the 2 knights that you have to lure together, aside from constantly trying to lure one of them away from the other one, I can't really see how much harm trolls could do. Because, I mean, either you're going to put bullets... The worst they could do is not standing there, not shoot anything, and take up space that someone else who's standing outside the bubble would come in and help fight.
Or kill a wizard too early.
Oh
yeah. 3 wizards, yeah, they could just troll and always kill one wizard over and over again and never let you complete it. That's interesting. That's a good point. I wonder what Bungie considered for anti-troll measures in that.
Yeah.
There are trolls.
And it sounds like you're pretty close to the source there, River. You wouldn't have happened to have been a troll in the previous live there, huh?
I may or may not have.
Well, how about
in my Halo days?
Right? How about I just come up and wreck this one wizard over and over? What do you think about that?
So that situation that we're talking about in the Skywatch, I think that is probably our number one example of why it's hard to design a patrol space where one person can go and enjoy themselves, but not get totally and completely overrun because it's designed for maybe six. You know,
Man,
I think that's part of it. Is they've got to make sure that that lone wolf guy can still enjoy his gameplay without feeling like there's a million things on the screen and he can never progress through the area because he's stuck killing so many things.
I
you know what?
definitely agree with that point. I think what I would have liked to have seen at this point in evolution would have been for us to get two patrol areas, the dreadnought, and then whatever else, another patrol area, and have it be maybe even just a different section of the dreadnought, and have it be, an end game patrol area that like teams designed for teams of six that wouldn't be for the one man to go patrol that area. It'd be like kind of like a raid but a patrol, someplace that's events occur over and over again that groups of six end game players can go just hang out and farm kills and do random, normal public events and things, but of that higher difficulty.
Yeah, I would really like to see a mayhem mode in Patrol. And Crimson Warlock, you bring up a really good point when you say that these activities are hard to design, because at first glance, Skolas, when I went to do Skolas 35 on Xbox this week, I joined this group of two guys, and I was like, we were playing, and everything was going okay, but we just couldn't get over that hump. Like, somebody was always dying, and at that point, it's, if you can't keep everyone alive for a good portion of the time, you're not going to be able to make it. It's, the odds are going to become overwhelming, and you're going to wipe. But then they ended up having to leave because they live in some other part of the world and were going to sleep. I still had this checkpoint, and I tweeted out, anybody else interested in joining me? I'm at Skolas right now. I'm ready to kill him. I've got the time. Let's do this. And so I got hit back by Shusky, and I invited this Guru Smoke from the Banana Guard, Mark Square's Banana Guard, really great guys, and we knocked it out in less than an hour. And the point I'm trying to make is that once we got into the rhythm of what was going on, and we were cycling, and we were continuing to work the ads, and we had everything in place, once that was all set up and we had a really good coordination, I could see where they could crank the level of difficulty up even more. They could start putting mines out to just crank it to that next difficulty, because once you have the coordination and the team that knows what they're doing, a lot of this content just melts away in front of you. So it is super hard to design for this, because what if they're like, let's say that this area exists where it is always Urzog the Hated, it is always a public event, it is always a House of Wolves mayhem. If you were just trying to get through like you do in the Gorgon Lair, what if you just have 6 blade dancers and they all go invisible and they just crawl right through, no problem? It's very hard to imagine a box big enough to hold everybody who's going to try and break out of this. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of thinking and planning goes into this, and I'm super excited for everything that the Taken King has to offer, because Bungie is no longer relying upon like internal testing and like what could happen. Right now they're looking at a year of what has happened. What happened when we didn't make just a straight up kill wall when the bridge wasn't formed. People took that sword and flew across. I'm a flyer. I'm a professional flyer. I fly across that thing almost the first time, every single time. I just do it. It's fun. It's, I don't know that they really put that in there. As a matter of fact, didn't they change it to where you couldn't just fly straight across, like you had to go at an angle or something like this?
Well, they made it so the kill space was not... The kill space went much higher, not over the bridge. Because before, you just had to fly across the chasm without going too low.
Now you gotta like
Just the
now you
nearer
gotta like
path of
fly in and then correct yourself towards the same direction the bridge goes.
Okay, yeah, that's the way I learned how to do it. I didn't have that easy time just going straight across. But yeah, like he said in an interview that probably in the first hour that Crota was live, it had been played more times than it ever had been internally, and so TTK represents a focused look at what has happened. What are people doing? Is there one bounty that everyone wants to do? How do we capitalize on what this is without just giving people a treat and then cranking it up? Like they got, 20 steps. How high are people intending to go? Like, what is the very next carrot? How do we push them? How do we pull them? And they have so much data. So everything in TTK is going to be fantastic coming from my point of view. And especially if you are still playing Destiny right now, then I think that you will be happy with it too. Do I still want a Forge mode? Yes. Private matches still need to be added? Yes. Am I ready for swords to be added? Oh, look at that. Swords. I'm happy. But yeah, River, what are you most looking forward to? And do you share this same viewpoint?
So yes, on the viewpoint, what am I looking forward to? I just want release date, man. Because there's just so much to do. I honestly don't even know where to start besides, going through the missions. I guess trying out the new subclasses. Just one step at a time for me. I don't think I'll probably try the raid whenever it comes out, but I don't really have like a dedicated team. So no world's first here.
Oh, yeah, that's sad.
I know. I always wanted to try it though.
Man.
And what was I thinking? Oh, and I have a confession. I have never completed the jump puzzle on the Vault of Glass legitimately. I've always took
legitimately is a loaded question.
Okay. I never went through the whole jump puzzle. Let's be a little more specific. I made that one jump where you just jump the chasm in one jump.
Yeah.
And landed on that little ledge on the edge, but I've never went through the entire puzzle.
Okay, so Agrios, it brings up a good point when he says that it's a loaded question because I don't know, like I've only gone across what I would consider legitimately once. Not that I didn't want to do it, but I don't know, all of your team's already across the chasm, and I don't want to be the one who's like, oh, let me do this the right way, you guys. I did that with Crota, and I hate myself for it.
How is skillfully using your Guardian's jump to do it in a single bound not legit?
Because he's a hunter, it's technically 3 bounds.
Well, but how is skillfully using your character's jumping ability to get across?
Well, what do they mean for you to do
without actually cheesing anything?
What do they mean for you to do?
Okay,
get to Atheon and kill him. With the description of Vault of Glass
jumping
says.
On the disappearing pillars, right?
Yeah,
get the Atheon and kill him. Like directive they gave me.
Thank you.
No,
so, yeah,
you know what?
Never did it.
I actually did it the first time. The first time I got to that place in the Vault of Glass, I started watching the patterns, and I was like, okay, this is taking too long. I wonder if they've designed another way to get through. And I noticed that there was this path down to the right, and I followed it down there to the lowest step, and I thought, man, I bet I can so make this jump. And I just did it. I made the jump first time, first try, and I thought, I am awesome. But no, I know exactly what you're saying, River. But where do you cross the line between jumping on those invisible platforms and do you skip the last one? Is that not legitimate also? Because I have gone across where I go to the first 2 or 3 and then I finish the jump all the way. So yeah,
so you never went through all the way?
No, I never touched all of the blocks going down.
Oh.
I doubt I ever have actually either, because I probably just jumped I skipped a couple every time. I didn't see the point in hopping every one. It's just putting yourself through extra danger for no reason.
Strider says legit is getting to the other side, and as someone who has waited for 10 plus minutes for one party member to try and make it across both ways, doing the steps and also doing the straight across, I can say that yes, legit is getting to the other side.
I kind of like the level of Mario. Do you have to break every single brick and every question mark in order to complete a level of Mario? Hey, you just got to get from point A to point B, and Everything else along the way is incidental.
The
You know what,
first time
River?
I did it like by hitting every block. But then the second time I did it, I was like, "Hey, I wonder if I can arc blade across."
Nice.
And I just like jumped from the starting platform and arc my way over. Now it's kind of funny that you can do that with Bones of AO without even using the little. I was gonna call it something different. The little helping block, the
The
lower,
helping block.
yeah, the helping block.
Thank you, block.
And not to mention the legit way across the first set of jumping puzzle. Have you bounced the legit way the whole way across the second set of jumping puzzle?
Which
Right.
second set of jumping puzzle?
If you, when you get to the jumping puzzles, if you go left and into the cave to the left and follow that cave the whole way around, then look down below you on the cliff, you can jump down to another little cave that's right down below you there. But when you get over there, new jumping puzzles will appear and take you a second way across the Atheon. May actually even be a little easier.
Yeah,
never done it.
the best way I've seen that one completed was a Titan went over to that left side and did death from above all the way across. To the end.
Yes,
That was
I saw
awesome.
that too.
Yeah, I've done that. That was awesome. Very fun to do.
Awesome. Moving on.
Moving on. So where was I? Okay. So before I continue with the rest of what is to come in Destiny, let's talk about a little bit more of what was revealed earlier in this week. We had a series of tweets that revealed interesting information from both Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. Some of which pertain to legendary marks. For instance, like the weekly heroic in PvE. There's a 3 times a week legendary mark payout for PvP for weekly PvP playlist stuff. They still, their goal is still for players to find rare legendary gear in the world as rewards, and hopefully you'll be using your marks for an exotic you love, to fill a slot you haven't looted yet, or to infuse a favorite. And that said, he comments that there's still some pretty damn sweet legendary weapons for sale in the tower, and mentions a hand cannon with Firefly and Luck in the Chamber. Mark Noseworthy tweeted about Vanguard Strikes, revealing that there will be a streak bonus, giving you extra rep and better loot drop chances for the more Vanguard Strikes you complete in a row without returning to orbit.
That's cool. Bonus. That's really awesome. He says until you return to orbit. Does that mean that if you are just 8 hours in, that every time you complete one, you're that much closer to? Because that seems OP as hell, huh?
I'm sure there's an upper cap.
Then you retain that boost until you go to orbit. Whenever it caps out, you just retain that boost till you go to orbit. Is what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thanks.
Maybe it'll say after you complete one streak bonus times 1, and you complete another one, it'll say streak bonus times 2. You'll have like a little buff in your like menu or something, and then maybe you'll get streak bonus times 5, and after that it won't go up any higher. But you'll always maintain that times 5 streak bonus until you go back to orbit. Is what I would imagine, something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thanks for clearing that up, or at least giving me another option, because all day I've been thinking about, man, you're going to have to play 8 hours to get into some really good stuff, or I'm going to want to play 8 hours. But you're right, 5 strikes in, 10 strikes in, and then it caps out. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, I have a question for you guys. At some point, I heard that you have to go through Dead Orbit, New Monarchy, or Future War Cult to raise those. You have to pledge to them. This does
Correct.
not also count for Vanguard. Like Vanguard is something other than a faction.
While you're pledged to a faction now, you will actually earn rep for both that faction and Vanguard or Crucible appropriate to the activity.
Okay, so it does not make sense at all to not pledge yourself to a faction then, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You know
Now,
what?
something to keep in mind while we're talking about this is a lot of people are saving up rep till right before they gain a new rank in each of their factions in order to gain new gear and such whenever the Taken King drops. In order to finish leveling those factions, you're going to have to pledge your allegiance to that faction to get that last little bit of rep. You can only pledge your allegiance to a faction once per week. Therefore, you're only going to be able to complete one of your rep packages once for the first week. If you change your pledge the next week, then you'll be able to complete that one, and the third week for the third one.
That's why you have 3 different characters.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, unless your name is Strider.
No, but you're still going to leave your rep on each of those characters unturned. You're still going to have to switch each of the 3 characters over, because a lot of people have like their new Monarchy, their Future War Call, and their Dead Orbit reps just about to turn over so they get a package. If you actually want all those packages on each of your 3 characters for a total of 9, you're going to have to do it over the course of 3 weeks.
Now, I would argue you can do it in 2 weeks, because you can pledge next week.
Oh, well, okay. Well, 3 weeks including next week, then. You're certain that we're going to be able to pledge starting with 2.0 and not the Taken King?
Pretty sure that was in the thing. I'll find the exact wording.
But you not get Taken King stuff.
No, you don't. What you do
stuff in the package.
You'll just, like, you can pledge to a faction, and then when it comes time to
I see.
You have to wait
turn
till the
it
very
in,
end of
wait until
so
after Taken King drops, then push it past that.
And then switch.
So yeah, what you're going to want to do is you're going to wait till the night before, just a couple, like right before you stop playing. You're going to pledge to whatever faction so you don't screw it up this week.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the next week starts, just earn a little bit of stuff and then switch your faction. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Anyways, I got to get out of here. Unfortunately.
Right on. Well, is there anything you want to add to this before we go?
Nope. We'll see what I get for my birthday tomorrow.
Shout out.
Oh, happy birthday,
because she's awesome.
Your wife, because she's awesome. Good shout out. Mm-hmm. Yes. Happy birthday.
Not quite yet. But thank you anyways.
All right. Have a good one.
On the East Coast,
yeah, you guys do.
Birthday. Ready?
Yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Sweet.
Right. See you, River.
See you.
See ya.
All right. That was awkward. Okay, where were we?
So I think
yes.
maybe I was wrong, because they mentioned, like, in the update that your Vanguard and Crucible marks were changing over, so I figured all the faction stuff was changing over, but even those are waiting until the 15th.
I kind of thought so.
Okay, so you can still, up until the 15th, you can still swap them around at will, and then
when Taken King hits, you can only push one over.
Got it. Yeah, this is actually given me some kind of room to breathe, because as much as I want to edge each of the factions, and if it happens to be that I finish upgrading one, I am going to go to the next one and edge it. But when House of Wolves dropped, I edged everything, and it was like Christmas. You know what? That's really what screwed me over. House of Wolves dropped, and then I just opened up so many legendary packages, and I just had so much, like it was just sitting on top of me, and I didn't have anywhere to put it. But yeah, like I've actually way chilled out on trying to grind that rep up, because I kind of feel like if I am, let's say, Dead Orbit on my Titan, why not just always be Dead Orbit on my Titan? Like, I don't really care about getting a faction package, trying to, level up a whole nother faction. Why don't I just keep with one on each? So I've just held back on edging it, just because it's I would have to wait 3 weeks. House of Wolves came out, and I was like just opening up packages left and right and changing my allegiance. I really like this system. I really like that there's going to be and this whole separate section to what's going on. I'm excited about pledging factions. What about you, Agrios? Is this a bummer to you, or do you like where this is going? And do you think that there's another level of this to go around?
You must be reading my thoughts. I only like this if there is more to this. because otherwise, this just seems like unnecessary encumbrance. It seems like it almost feels like they're trying to give the factions false meaning because they're only really putting a nerf on the fact that you can change your faction at will, that you can only do this once per week. If that's all there is to it, then it's nothing but an encumbrance to us. But if there's more levels to this, if there's more plans for this, if they're really going to make the factions mean something, if they're going to give the factions their own individual quests that are entertaining and meaningful to the story and to my character, then I totally welcome this more realistic involvement, this more commitment they're making you make with the factions. If they're just going to be like they have been all along, except now I can only change it once per week and stuff, then I don't know.
Well, it was probably initially proposed to do this just so that they could unhook the class item slot from your faction rep.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just be able to change your allegiance all the time? Like, I only want this limitation on, me not just being able to go to the tower and go talk to the dude and change it as often as I want, to be there if it really means something that I'm pledging to that one faction.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, with the like almost penalty to having to wait a week to switch factions, it seems like they are pushing you to level that one faction. Like, maybe there's just like the strike hoppers are going to give you bonuses for staying in them. Maybe you'll get loyalty rewards.
I really hope so. Like, that's what I'm talking about. If they do that, then I'm all for this.
Yeah.
But if they don't, then it feels like they're just punishing players for no reason.
Right, and this doesn't make sense. That particular line of thought doesn't make sense because they just went out of their way to say that they weren't trying to tell you how much fun you could have. They went out of their way to say, here is as many legendary marks as that you can earn in a week. It's all yours. With a cap of 200, you got to go spend it on something. Like, I feel like those two things don't jibe. Like, I feel like there's another reason. And it's exciting to me because I just feel like there could be so much more, instead of people just jumping ship. There will be this level of loyalty. You'll have to pick which one you really want to go with. And for me, I will just assign one to each of my characters because I don't want to limit my options. Like, let's say that Future War Cult has this really great pistol. I don't want to be pissed off that two of my characters are grinding out Dead Orbit. I just want to have everything open to me at all times. Although I would have skipped New Monarchy despite their great auto rifles and pistols in favor of Vanguard. If I could have pledged to Vanguard, I want to do more for the city. I don't want to mess with any of these other, these people want to fight and these people want to run and these people want to rule everything.
New Monarchy kind of is the supporter of the city, so.
Yeah, that seems a little too political for my Titan. He just really wants to help the people. He's not there to rule over others. He's there to help out.
I'm kind of wondering if Vanguard, I can't remember how it was in the beginning, but I wonder if FOTC turned into Vanguard.
FOTC just disappeared.
It didn't completely disappear, but
if you go to our website, guardian1.net, and you look under where it says forums, the screen capture I took had that FOTC banner on it, and that's no longer an option. And that's really frustrating to me because when I was designing Guardian 1, I really wanted it to be part of this Forces of the City. This is something that will help anyone regardless of faction. We want to put Guardians out there prepared. And so it just kind of went together with it. So they are.
The Forces of the City emblem is still all over all kinds of guns and things all over Destiny.
Right, sparrows and yeah, totally. I think it's on those packages of cream cheese that Amalan uses to power their guns.
yeah. In case everybody out there didn't know, we discovered Amalan's ammo. There's bricks of cream cheese near the postmaster, and that's what we see sloshing around in Omlom guns. That substance is actually superheated cream cheese, which Omlom then forms into bullets and fires out of their guns.
Right. If you go up and look at the packages around the tower, it looks like a package of cream cheese. But
so you mentioned about pledging to the different groups, and I, of course, I have a backstory for each of my characters, and they each have been since the beginning of the game dedicated to one of their factions. Well, earlier in the week, our clanmate Jaded, he starts discussing the factions, and he kind of starts digging at Dead Orbit. Well, I'm on my Warlock, so of course my Warlock is a Dead Orbit supporter, and he's arguing with me, and I'm adamantly like arguing back with him, and Sharks is listening to this whole thing, chuckling the whole time, and he's like, you realize that he pledges a different faction on each of his characters. And if he's Titan's new monarchy, I'm like, well, yeah, if I was on my Titan, I'd be given a different story. Like, oh, because I just argued with him for like 10 minutes adamantly about Dead Orbit and whatnot against new monarchy and things like that. So I think it adds a really entertaining aspect to the game, and I think if they involve them with more commitment and add more story and more lore, and I mean, why are these people even here? Why are they important? Why do any of these Guardians that are already awesome even care about these schmucks? Like, if they get me involved with that, I mean, I can just see this going a lot further in the community. I think there's a lot more commitment to these sort of story-based lore, role-playing even moments that could really be utilized. And Destiny is great for that sort of stuff.
I think we'll see more involvement in the future. I feel like the Factions was the first-person shooter's attempt to be an RPG, kind of like how I talked about last week on the podcast, and like it just hasn't quite panned out yet for what they want to do with them. And so I'm thinking if we don't see them in a coming expansion, Destiny 2 is probably where I think our factions are really going to start meaning big things. I think Bungie just needs a little bit more time to really kind of flesh out what they want to do with that system.
Right. You know what? And this goes back to something that we've talked about way long time ago, which is just they wanted to see what people were going to do with it. Like, can you imagine if they had added, like I want, like a title system to it? Like if you could be some kind of general or lieutenant or private or, whatever those steps are, I think people would have been much more interested in grinding out those things. But I don't think people wanted to do that. I think they wanted to see what people were going to do just right off the top, like without giving them any kind of, this is a Bungie pastime, is giving people silent calls to do things. They weren't going to go out and say, all right, well, we have something special planned for the factions, so don't go grind it out. They just didn't say anything. There's a number associated with basically nothing at this point, and the only thing that it serves to show is how many times you've gotten some pretty rotten loot. Oh, I'm level 75. That must be 75 great big letdowns. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more faction things. I tweeted out about Mortal Kombat system. Mortal Kombat 10, I think it was, has this system where you choose a group. I think it's like 5 different factions, and you rank up in that group, and you get to fight versus other people based on their faction preference. Like there's tournaments built into this game where each of these 5 factions is represented, and you get match made with other people of that faction. And that's how the battles go down. You won't be fighting somebody from the same faction necessarily because it's clashing of the clans. Can you imagine what that would do to PvP? That would be so crazy. And I think that this is just one step on that way because at this point you would have to either change a character to change your faction, or you'd have to wait 1 week in order to go to the other side. What would this do to friendships, though? Like, say Agrios is on his Dead Orbit character, and I'm on my New Monarchy character, and now we have to fight on opposite teams, even though we're partied together. I guess there is quite a bit to still flesh out. Maybe
Well,
tournaments.
I think if the event itself, I mean, you could have a specific event in the Crucible or something related to your actual, factions that you're pledged or something like that. Just make it one, small portion of the Crucible. I think that could be interesting or something. But the way example I give it is I don't feel like these factions are ever going to be actually like in real life, like fighting, shooting at one another. I think, it's more like political views. I mean, in general, you don't find Republicans and Democrats shooting at one another. And also you don't find opposite sports teams. Like, if you like one sports team and I like, like if you like the Steelers and I like the Browns, we can still like go out and have fun when we're not like rooting for those teams, actively. It's not like we have to fight all the time because we're fans of those teams.
I would argue that the Crucible is a sport.
Correct. I would agree with that.
So the different teams would be up against each other because that would be how you would because sport was only created as a way to train for war.
Oh, right. Look at you.
Well, I agree with that. And I think they could have one particular portion of the Crucible, be concerned as to which faction you've pledged. But I mean, as far as other modes and things, I mean, just like in real life, they have all-star games where all these different competing sports teams send their best athletes to play on an all-star game type thing. So, like...
Where's my 3v3v3?
That would be awesome.
I'm in on that. I'm super in on 3v3v3.
That's the mode right there. Faction warfare. 3v3v3. You have to fight for the faction that you're pledged.
Man, that
you heard it here.
That sounds really cool. That sounds really cool.
It does.
I mean, back when before the game was out, I was always like, hey, they should have 3v3v3v3v3v3. Back when there was 5 factions.
Right. That sounds awesome. There's just so much.
Now I just got to do the 2.
There's just so much room for growth within Destiny, and it's taking place over a natural course of time. It just, what it is it feels like it should be happening faster because of Bungie's legacy. I mean, for people like me who have been with this company for a long time and who really, really love their output, it's easy for me to just want to make it happen. Like, the last game you guys put out was Halo Reach, and there's so much to it in theater mode and forge mode and sharing files, and I don't know, there's just so much. So I'm ready for it right now, but in terms of they've had to completely rebuild. They've completely built this whole engine, and then this world, and then this lore, and then there's just so much that's gone into it that by the time we do get our forge mode, it's going to have a big impact on the game, and it's going to be cool because it's going to have been ready. We're going to have been ready. I wish someone would just say to me, yes, Destiny 4 Forge mode, I would be like, done.
Destiny 2 Forge mode, come on. What the hell?
I'm not, I don't want to get greedy.
I think the only reason we don't have all of the features that were already present in Reach is the fact that they made the decision that it was something they wanted to do was launch on last gen.
Yeah.
We also know that Destiny was originally being designed for potentially a last gen only launch. You know what I mean? When it was supposed to come out a year before it did.
Yeah.
It wasn't even slated for PS4 actually.
It probably helps Reach that it was like the 3rd game. Well, technically 4th, I guess, if you count ODST.
Totally.
Was OD?
Yeah, ODST was before Reach. Yes, it was. And it was good. I've been meaning to go back and play it. But I got Destiny to play.
I'm really hoping that, Destiny 2 comes out for next-gen systems only, and, we get our theater mode and custom matches and all that sort of stuff that we are lacking at the moment. Because, they talk about the vault space and having to, in the most recent video, they talk about how they had to dig for data, and that until they found that data, we were only going to get 3 more vault spaces. And then some designer had a eureka, I found 10 megabytes. And 10 megabytes isn't really a lot of space. But that's what gave us the vault that we had. That they were like, well, what do we do with this 10 megabytes? And everybody's like, well, it's got to go to vault space. So that's why the only reason we're getting the vault that we get. So, I mean, that's how restricted they are. And we know it's because of last gen. There's just no room for any of this other cool stuff. And I'm hoping that that's the only reason it's not there. And it's coming with the next release.
I just had a random thing to add. We were talking about like games in the tower, like some kind of old arcade, like a Contra style side-scrolling Destiny themed mini game. I was just thinking also like Gradius. Did you guys ever play Gradius? Like having it be some kind of side-scrolling space shooter. Like what if it was the ship you had equipped was the one in the game? Like I know that this adds a whole level of craziness to it, but Gradius was really fun, and it could make a really cool mini game.
So you mean 2D space battles?
Yeah, 2D space battles. I love 2D space battles.
Yeah, during the loading screens, that would be awesome. Oh,
Right?
you know what would be really awesome? Okay, wait. Maybe I was reading the next news piece, so I don't want to be like. What was your idea exactly now for this Gradius? How would it work?
It would be just like Gradius. It would be Destiny themed, but it would be your ship, whatever ship you had equipped, would have like a 2D avatar available to fly up and down. As I don't know, I really want an
How
arcade.
the loading screens are, only your whole fire team should be there. You should be like a multiplayer Gradius. With all you can see your other fire team ships there, and you teamwork, fly through, take out the stuff while you're flying to Pluto or wherever we're going to go next.
If that were the case, I'd rather have it just be like that level in Reach that was you actually flying a jet and shooting it like that. Like that would be really cool.
Wouldn't it be amazing if it was just a super hard cut of it being like super 3D flying through space, and all of a sudden this 2D fire team? It's like, what?
I was thinking, you'd go to your normal shot in orbit, you'd take off, it'd go to hyperspace, and then they'd zip to the distance, and it would cut right to the 2D, and then at the end of it, you'd come out of it into 3D hyperspace, and that's just what it looks like when you go through the wormhole.
See, I mentioned something like that happening, but it also happening at like a 0.01% chance, so no one would see it, and remove the make the loading screen non videoable location, so they couldn't take a video of it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So they're like, it really happened, I swear, and no one would believe them.
All right. Let's get back on track. What we got, Agrios?
Okay, so earlier this week, we also had the new trophies coming, new trophies or achievements, whatever have you, coming on the new, with the Taken King. And we got those courtesy of the Xbox 360 achievements have revealed them. Should I go over those?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. We have the Taken King, which you get for completing the Taken King quest. Night Court for completing the Court of Oryx quest. Hunger Pangs for completing the Old Hunger quest. Second Wind for completing the Echoes of Oryx quest. Stormcaller for completing the Stormcaller's Path. Sunbreaker for completing the Sunbreaker's Challenge. Night Stalker for completing the Night Stalker's Trial. Still Got Wolf Problems for completing the Wolves of Mars quest. The King is Dead for completing the King's Fall raid. And Long Live the King for completing the King's Fall raid on Heroic.
Interesting. All pretty straightforward. Very, very similar to the original set. I remember going through the original set and going like, oh, Dragon Slayer, this is going to be so awesome. And, upgrading your first ship, this is going to be... No, it's all going to happen as you complete stuff normally. It's pretty standard. Yeah. But cool. I do enjoy my achievements, and
it
we'll be trying to
should
get
be noted. That's heroic mode, not hard mode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the internets were saying something about there was more than just regular and hard mode. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. Jez, I I am oftentimes taking care of kids and therefore am unable to necessarily give enough attention to certain things that are happening in my world. And so I was listening to the Guardian radio podcast the other day, and Belle mentioned either as something that she would want to see or something that was going to happen in The Taken King, as something you've mentioned before on this program, which was donating to the war effort. And do you think that what that is going through those packages at the vendor? Because they were taking in all kinds of different materials and ammo synth. Do you think that that's what they're talking about? And was that what you were talking about?
Well, not really. The donating to the war effort that I was talking about was leading up to like an unlocking of a raid or unlocking of something in general. And of course we know the date that the raid unlocks, and it's not like if the community decides it's unlocked by donating, but I mean it still could be used in a different way, but the chances of it happening now are really slim, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. You know what, though? What if one of these different versions of the raid unlocked after so many people took the king down? You know, you could still be way on top of what that is.
Yeah, it could. That's basically all I can say.
Yeah, we don't know when the hard mode is going to come out, so I mean,
Yeah.
it could be based around getting the hard mode.
Yeah, we don't know when any mode's coming out, except for normal, I guess.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so this week, Game Informer also dropped their last piece in their Destiny series. They did a special podcast where they brought in Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy on the podcast with them and talked to them at great length over a huge variety of subjects. It was called Answering Destiny, The Taken King's Lingering Questions. Some highlights. It's great to listen. There's lots and lots of information. I couldn't possibly cover all the little details here, but if you're interested in their motivations, what they were thinking, like how they made a lot of the decisions that they made that we're aware of at this point already, if you're interested in how that came to be, it's a great listen for that. Some of the highlights include their plan. They don't have any plans for Etheric Light right now. There's no exchange currently planned for it, but they're going to look into that at a future date. They don't know what time the game is going to launch yet. They said it'd be premature to announce at this moment. Although some signs point toward it being a midnight West Coast launch like the previous installments.
Wait, are we talking Taken King?
Yes.
Yeah, the weekly update had that
2 a.m.
time.
PST. Or PDT.
Wait, did I misunderstand it in the weekly update?
Yeah, it said 2 a.m. PST. So 5 a.m. EU, Agrios.
Oh yeah, okay, there, yeah. All right. 2 a.m. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the what's it called? Jeez, I can't think. Reset.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Excellent. Glad we
I
straightened
missed
that.
that. I thought it said 12 a.m.
I mean, maybe during this interview it wasn't locked down at that time, but it is now.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I missed that. All right. I think I just stopped at the movie of the week this week and forgot to read the bottom section.
The bottom section was really important.
Yeah, I know. No, I was so busy collaborating all this other info into an order there that I just forgot to scroll past all the honorable mentions on the movie of the week. So I neglected to note that part.
You do know that's a very valuable tactic to learn, and that's why you'll always see after credit scenes in Marvel movies.
Well, I normally am very careful about going down there and reading that today. I just did. I mean, normally, but today I must have overlooked that. Got to watch that.
Oh,
Okay.
and I found out why I was thinking that the faction thing was gonna work is because Mark Noseworthy also tweeted out today that you'll be able to start leveling the gunsmith starting the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I can't wait to check that out.
Okay, so back on track to here, but one of the things they commented on in the podcast was the light and how it affects your attack values and such. I'd like to read a little tiny quote here. The attack value exists on weapons to dictate the attack value for the weapon. So a weapon that is 170 attack will drop your light by some percentage. If your average is like 280, like I've seen the same thing you're talking about, and what that's going to do is lower your overall. You're going to be less defensive. Like, you're going to receive more damage because your overall light went down. But when wielding that 170 attack weapon, your attack is going to be down 2 because your weapon is not scaling against the inflation curve for the enemies. So basically, your light is going to be an average of all your values on all your attack and defensive items. And if you were to lower your overall light average by equipping a lower attack value weapon, it's also going to lower your overall defenses. So this is similar to, it seems to, but it also matters. It's going to specifically lower the damage of that particular weapon because that weapon's what's bringing you down and has a lower light itself. So it's very much what Jez had said before, as far as it being a combination of both the attack value or defense value of the particular armor or piece or weapon piece in combination with what your character's overall average achieved light is by adding them all up is going to affect both your damage and that you put out and take. So it's going to be quite an interesting system to get used to, and I imagine kind of hard to predict specifically at first.
Well,
it's going to matter.
It's just going to be
light
pick the bigger number.
And the value of the weapon's going to matter.
What was that, Jez?
I said it's still going to just end up being pick the bigger number.
Well, right. It is going to be pick the bigger number to a certain degree. But I suppose where the question's going to come is when you're looking between, because things are going to go up more slowly here. Like the light level is going to go up slowly. Like the old value weapons are going to be 170, and then the ones that drop in Taken King are going to be whatever they are. And then as you infuse into them, they're going to go up little bit by little bit. So I think the real question and thing that's hard to determine other than physically just testing them on equal enemies is going to be when I look at this really high impact hand cannon that's maybe slightly less light than this lower impact, pulse rifle or something like that. And even though the pulse rifle is higher attack, it's lower impact, and which one's really going to be doing more damage to my target per bullet, for instance, or something like that. I think it's going to be kind of interesting how this is all going to get worked out in that regards after this drops.
So my best guess on that is it's based off of what you're fighting. Because if you're the higher level you're fighting, I think the more that attack number is going to matter.
Right. Well, I'm even talking about like against equal enemies. Like if you had a pack of a dozen level 40 dregs in front of you and you're level 40 yourself, looking at two different guns you have in your inventory that are two different light levels, like not huge amounts of light apart, but maybe the lower attack value one's higher impact and the higher attack value one's lower impact, figuring out which one, without physically testing them on each of those dregs differently, which one's going to do the most damage to what you're doing at right away, being that it's this weird combination of all your level, your average light, and then the attack of the weapon. It's just a lot to compute at this point. As far as I'm a spreadsheet person, so I like comparing weapons to spreadsheets, and this is going to make that more difficult.
What I'm getting at, though, is just like how now if you're over-leveled for something, there's still a cap on how much damage you can do. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're fighting something that's 40 and you're 40 and it wants you to have a certain amount of light, I'm sure that a 240 weapon is going to do fairly similar damage, like in their respective category, because it's very hard to predict hand cannon versus pulse rifle because that stat does not match up. Like it's not comparable. But
right, that stat isn't right.
But they'll be very. It'll work like the exact same. You'll get the same damage cap. If like, let's just simplifying it and adding that you have a 240 hand cannon and a 280 hand cannon, and your overall light is above the average for the creature, you're going to do the exact same amount of damage with both weapons.
You think?
Well, because you're going to have that same damage cap.
I mean, unless you're substantially over leveled, that you're past like the over level cap. I think if you're in the light level range of the creature you're fighting, and you have, or at least a little over it, and you have two different weapons with two different attack values, but your average light in either case is going to be at least the minimum required for the creature, they're definitely going to be doing a very amount of damage.
As randomly wants to know, says, dumb question, will emblems have light? And I don't think that that's a dumb question, because wearing the Iron Banner emblem does do something. So it's not impossible to think that this is something that could be happening, or maybe just another specific case where, it's another, here's your Prison of Elders, you get more of that, or, Court of Oryx, you get a thing for that, and it helps you. But as far as I know, there is no talk about light actually being on it, right?
As far as I know, emblems don't have any abilities at all on coming up. But it's a good question, because everything else does now.
Right?
Wasn't not a dumb question. A rumor that ships had light level at one time?
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I think because, look at where the emblem is located at on your, tower iPad. It's lumped up with your shaders, your ships, your sparrows, things that don't affect you, very cosmetic things.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
The fact that they're going to have an emblem vendor like the other things, and that you can delete any emblem and buy back whatever one you want at any point, that points to me that there's definitely not going to be anything going on with them.
Like exotics. Oh, wait.
Mystic Rose, who will be on the show at some point in the future, probably after Taken King launches, so we can get her side on that. She says, I thought they were going to make it simpler. And this is what I thought as soon as they started trying to explain it. I just thought to myself, okay, this sounds like more work to figure this out, not less. I understand that in the very beginning it is confusing. Light level. What is light level? Oh, I have to wear this armor to get level higher. That's about as hard as it is. What it sounds like is that they have not yet taken light level and level away from each other properly. They have not explained it. I hear you guys explaining it, and I say, okay, why don't I just check it out, and I will play with it. I will equip different weapons, and I will see it work for myself, and then I will figure it out. Because what you're saying, the words make sense. The order that you're saying it makes sense, but I think I need to really, really check it out in order to understand what's going on.
I think the best way to look at it is just divorce yourself from the fact that light level also affects your overall attack and overall defense. Your light score now is going to be an aggregate of your overall gear score. It's not going to be so much that it affects your level, so you don't have to worry about it. If I equip this, is it going to drop me down? But it is going to be an not an example. It's going to be a representation of how high level your gear is. So you're going to be equipping better gear over time, but just don't think of it so much as what's the difference between 1 and 2 in my light.
Interesting.
The feel of things is still going to matter much more.
So I'll get my 2 cents in. What I would say is, if your light level is lower than, I guess, the recommended level, then just think of it that your skill is going to have to overcome that deficit. And if your light level is over it, If your light level's over it, then your gear is going to make that encounter that much easier with your skill level.
Yeah, I don't know.
To a point. Remember, they're still gonna do the capping so that things still are relevant to being a challenge.
Yes, but I mean, like, if you had a light level that's 100 above the recommended, then your gear's carrying you further than if your light level was 20 above the recommended.
Well, we don't know how much it's going to, like, where the cap is anymore. Like, it used to be like 3 actual levels.
You know what
Well,
I do in cases like this? In cases like this, I go to Datto Does Destiny on YouTube, and I freaking wait until he comes out with a video to explain it to me.
I heard there's
well,
a really interesting site called Destiny Help Center.com.
Uh-huh.
It's actually leads back to Dato's Twitter.
Hilarious. That was $9.99 a year, well worth of a URL. Okay, so we have 20 minutes, Agrios. Why don't you wrap up whatever topic you're talking about there, and let's see if we can get through the rest of this.
okay, sounds good. All right. So some other things of note from the Game Informer article was they noted there's 3 brand new exotic scout rifles, and that Mida is not on the year 2 list. They revealed this while discussing how they made some of the decisions for what year 1 exotics were going to progress to year 2 right away. They talked about Icebreaker and Galahorn bring solutions to problems in year 1, and that they don't want any one exotic to be answer to everything. Artifacts won't be displayed on your character. They're similar to like a ring or jewelry slot in RPGs. They'll provide a small buff to your character. There won't be any way to change the way your character looks coming in TTK, no barbershop or anything like that. And there will be no new changes to the old raids or the Prison of Elders, no upgrades to their loot tables or anything like that. As far as equipping emotes, it appears our only option will be to replace the point emote on your character. That would be by pressing left.
Hello?
And
Oh.
go ahead.
No, it sounded like you were waiting for conversation to happen, or you had just been disconnected. So you're only going to be able to replace left. So those dances that we saw were actually instead of the point button?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, that's
so
the optional emote direction.
that is very interesting. I was wondering if they were going to offer entirely brand new things, but then I remembered that these dances and emotes, they were all linked to what race you were and also male or female. And so I was worried because I only chose Exos. Like I didn't like the voices of the other ones and the dances from the other ones, and I was really worried that having only Exos was going to come into play. But then I saw that those particular emotes are class related, and I have one of each class, so it's not a big deal. And if I had sat down to think about it long enough, I would have realized that, of course, Titans got hammer time because of the Soul Smasher. You know, it goes
obvious.
together. Continuing.
Continuing. Okay, so that wraps up the important points of the Game Informer article. Back to the weekly update now. They going to reveal that coming up this next week after the update 2.0 drops, if you've bought Destiny, whether you've pre-ordered the Taken King or not, they're sending you into the Crucible to experience new modes of battle on every brand new map, but you won't have the use of your new super abilities yet. It will take place from the 8th to the 14th, and after that, only those who have picked up the Taken King will continue to have access to all these new Crucible modes and maps. So everybody can try out Rift and Mayhem and have fun with that next week. Are you guys excited about this?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It might only be because I've really stepped up my Crucible game in this last week because of Iron Banner and because of Thorn. But I feel really strong about my ability to handle Thorn players, my ability to handle Blink shotgunners, and it's called camping. If you don't want to get just murdered when you run around a corner, you gotta take up a defensive position unless you also are a Blink shotgunner, you know. And I know it's pissing them off, and I was told that I ended up just using Atheons even after I completed my Thorn bounty. I just felt really comfortable with it, and I was told that I was then a troll because killing somebody with Atheons, you might as well be teabagging them. Additionally, because I guess that pisses people off. I guess being killed by the worst PvP gun in the game is not really a happy.
Necrochasm would like to have a word with you.
There's a couple worse than the one your class you're using there, Remy. That's not the worst one in the game.
But yeah, so it's I feel really good about this. I'm super excited about Mayhem because I feel like all of the stress and all of the pressure of having to coordinate just is gone. There is no coordination. There's only mayhem. You know, what are you doing? If you're not using your super, then you're waiting for your super to charge. It's ready now. Let's go Blade Dance. Like, I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be crazy to play Mayhem. It's going to be fun. It's going to be low pressure because at any point in time, you know, the score is just going to completely change. Rift, I'm excited about in that I've wanted for a long time more parameters involved within the Crucible, much like Neutral Assault, which is basically what this is Neutral Assault. There's one orb, right? There's one orb at any one time, and then and then you take that to the other team's goal, or they stop you and take it to your goal, right? That's how that game works. There is not.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So let's.
It's like soccer that you hold in your hand like a football.
Awesome.
And you shoot at other people at the same time.
Oh, happy birthday to River. A special Guardian 1 podcast announcement. And I don't know if I should be sharing this, but River just came back into our chat and has shown us a picture of a status. We've got your order arriving Tuesday, September 15th. He is getting the PlayStation 4 edition of Destiny with the PlayStation 4, all of that wonderful thing. So River will be able to play with a bunch of people on PlayStation come September 15th. And it will actually be very interesting to see what he has to say at being a Guardian only in this whole second year. Like, he's not going to have anything from the first year. And so, I don't know. It's going to be great. Congratulations to you, River. Welcome to all of the people who are playing Destiny. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Let's just hope that his Xbox One side doesn't dry up because, I don't know, the couple times I played with him was really awesome. But how sweet. How super sweet. Happy birthday to you. And your shout out was right. Your girl is awesome. So, moving on.
Moving on. So on September 8th, the deployment of Update 2.0 will change the way we play. Patch notes will come next week, but they give us an overview tonight. As far as our characters go, the level cap for all players will be raised to 34. Level cap for the Taken King will be 40. You will be able to level up by gaining XP alone. Character level and light are now separate statistics. Your character level will be grandfathered into your highest possible light level from all gear in your inventory and vault. Attack and defense ratings for armor and weapons will be translated to the new systems. Their power levels will be unchanged. Grimoire score has been moved from the character nameplate and now displays in the character screen. For quests, a quest screen will now be added to your menu. It tracks all active quests. Abandoned quests can be recovered in the Hall of Guardians. Year 1 activities have been converted to the quest system. Bounties Bounty slots will be increased to 16. Incomplete Year 1 bounties will be auto-abandoned on 9/8 in preparation for launch of the Taken King. Incomplete Year 1 exotic bounties are auto-completed with their respective vendors. Year 1 bounties issued by Eris will be retired, and reputation with Crota's Bane can be continued to be earned by completing quests in the Taken King. So this is an interesting section in particular. I'd like to stop and talk a little about this. The way we talked about this a little earlier on about the Year 1 bounties being incomplete and being auto-completed and such, right?
Yes.
Now they mention here though that the Eris bounties will be retired. So does that mean that there will only be new bounties with Eris, or that Eris just simply won't have bounties anymore? And then to go on further from that, when it says reputation with Crota's Bane continue to be earned by completing quests in the Taken King, does that mean that Crota's Bane reputation is going to continue on past 4, or that if you haven't earned your way up to 4, that's how you can get the rest of the way to 4? And also, if Eris isn't providing bounties anymore, is she still going to be there to sell her shaders and items?
Right, or will her shaders and items be changed? There's so much up in the air. I really, really, really need to complete her quest, her quests. I still haven't done the earn thing. I was told that it was the best part of the game. Just never finished it. I really need to get that done. So this is good to know for all those people like me who just,
I do want to say that I saw Lace Up Lauren's character get Eris Morn rep while she was in the Dreadnought. So,
but did it take her past 4? Is the question.
Yeah, it looks just like the symbol. So
there was the note below this fact that Eris Morn's no longer giving bounties, that it says something like Eris Morn bounties will be, or Eris Morn rep will be gained through Taken King quests or something like that.
Wait, reputation with Crota's Bane can be continued by continue to be earned by completing quests in the Taken King, it says.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll bother add like extra, but they couldn't abandon it altogether.
Yeah, that would totally negate part of the game for people who would want to go back and do it.
Right. You're totally right. That's the point that needs to be made, is that there's still going to be people who've never played any of that stuff, and so there's going to have to be some way for her to...
Okay, but wait a minute. Let me go on to say this. It says, fallen wolf hunt patrols will retreat in anticipation of the arrival of Oryx solar system, and in the warning list that we're going to get to, they warn that complete your House of Wolves grimoire as it applies to hunting in the wild.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Aren't hunts the proper name for the wolves prowling?
Yeah.
Well, that and those random, just particular targets in certain zones. There's those are.
There is grimoire associated with that. Yeah. Okay, so it says Year 1 bounties issued by Eris will be retired. So that doesn't say anything that no Year 2 bounties will be showing up. I read this to be that Year 1 bounties are just going the way of the dodo. And
well, I think they just want to tweak some of them. They can't keep them. I think they just want to tweak some of them, and they can't keep Year 1 if they want to tweak one of the old ones.
That makes sense.
See, I don't know why they would specify. In the next sentence, it just says reputation with Crota's Bane can continue to be earned by completing quests in the Taken King. I would have thought that either they wouldn't also mention that, or they would stay there by completing quests in the Taken King, or by completing the new bounties for the Taken King, or something like that.
Man, that's a really good point.
Specified, it means that there aren't going to be bounties available, but you can gain reputation by doing this instead.
Yeah. Yeah,
But that makes me wonder, is Eris even going to still be there selling those things? Or like you said, is she going to have new and different things? I mean, we're very used to things being retired that you can never get again in the game. Can't be purchased anymore after a certain point type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just making the other shader that I haven't bought yet from her because I didn't really like how it looks before the 8th, because I'm not going to risk me never being able to get it ever again.
Right. I don't even know where I'm going to put that. And for those of you who are looking for trying to figure out which bounties you still need to do for House of Wolves before they're retired, what is the best site to go to for that, Agrios?
DestinyTracker.com. You're going to go there, go to their Grimoire tab, and you can click the little button that says show only your missing cards.
Got
and
it.
You can see all your Grimoire stuff that you need right in there. If you have anybody with a name on it, you could have gotten that somewhere. That's either a Prison of Elders boss or one of the wanted targets out in the wild. So it's not hard to determine which with a quick Google search.
So let's see. We've got 4 minutes. Let's just we've got 5 minutes left. Why don't you read off the last couple of things?
All right. So in the tower, collections have been added to the tower. We're going to have emblems and shaders found near Eva Levante. Ships can be found near Amanda Holiday. It's going to be great to be able to unload these things from our inventory before the Taken King lands. I'm going to have so much fun organizing everything. It's going to be awesome. And also, collecting ships. I'm going to need so much glimmer. Exotic armor and weapon blueprints are going to be added to the tower. You'll now have a blueprint for all exotics in your own collection. So this is going to open up a huge amount of inventory. Any exotics that you don't use on a regular basis and don't care about keeping, like we were talking about the uselessness of super good advice earlier, that can get deleted and open yourself up some more inventory space. And they let us know to report to the Vanguard and the Hall of Guardians to take care of this. For inventory, motes of light are going to be used to grant XP to weapons and armor now. Class-specific armor materials will be depreciated in favor of a unified armor material. Depreciated. That's an odd phrase.
Depreciated?
Yeah.
4 minutes, guys. Let's go.
Go.
The Vanguard Quartermaster, Ronin 9940, will exchange old materials for armor material. This will take effect on 9/15, though, it says. Revised sandbox balance will be in effect, as per their previous discussions, and as we mentioned, the Fallen Wolf Hunt patrols will be gone. There's a list to be sure of things to be sure you've taken care of before this lands. Complete those Year 1 bounties. Don't delete characters or dismantle items just yet. Try the Year 1 campaign again. Jump into the Crucible for some new action. Try your beloved auto rifles again. Destroy remaining wolf packs and loot their chests for ether keys. Complete your House of Wolves Grimoire as it applies to hunting in the wild. Complete your Moments of Triumph, because the time's been extended to September 14th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And Vanguard and Crucible marks. Activities you previously earned Vanguard Crucible marks from will now grant legendary marks. On Tuesday, your current Vanguard Crucible marks will be converted into faction commendations. This was discovered that previously that this is going to be on a 50-to-1 basis. For every 50 marks you have, you will get one commendation of the appropriate type. The Elder Cipher will no longer drop upon completion of the Skulless Challenge Arena in the Prison of Elders. The exotic items offered within the Elder Cipher will now have a chance to drop from the Prison of Elders treasure chest. And the movie of the week this week was a video of Guardians being pursued by other Taken Guardians. It was a bit of a trailer for a fictional Destiny movie. It was pretty well done.
Excellent. Excellent. Well done, Agrios. All right. Cutting it close here. Shout-outs, Agrios.
Shout out to my Guardian 1 brothers. Get ready for the Taken King.
Excellent. Jez.
Shout out to Mark Noseworthy, fellow Eastern Canadian.
Excellent. Crimson Warlock.
Shout out to Bungie for making this awesome game that we all love to play.
Awesome. And my shout out is to K-Dub, Guardian 1 member. Very early on, I think he was the fourth member of Guardian 1. He does so much for this group, and he will continue to do so much because he's he's just barreling along with making it happen, and I really couldn't appreciate it more. You know, everything that everyone puts into Destiny and into Guardian 1, it really means a lot to me. But this week I wanted to really thank K-Dub, because right in the middle of moving and a storm and trying to prepare for Destiny, he's still working extra hard to make all this happen. So with that wraps up episode 55. I would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.
River on PS4.